Becoming a truthful person involves dealing with the guilt of past lies. Is it better to come clean about old lies even if they will ruin lives, or forgive yourself and focus on living truthfully in the present and future? Ah, that's a really good question. I would say that there are, telling the truth doesn't mean saying everything about everything all the time. It's a lot more complicated than that. First of all, you have a right to privacy. And second, like, here's an example. This is a tricky one, but I think it would address your question. Imagine that you've had an affair. You have a happy marriage, but you had an affair. And maybe you had an affair 3 years ago, and maybe it was, a couple of weeks or a couple of months, or maybe it was even only one night. And it's driving you crazy. You're guilty about it, and you feel that you should confess. And I would say, well, the first question is, have you learned your lesson? And the lesson should be, you've processed what you've done and decreased the probability that you will do it again to something as closely approximating zero as possible. And then you have to ask yourself, what makes you think that you have any right to confess? Because then what you would do is take the original transgression, which was quite severe, and hurt someone very badly by revealing it. And you might say, well, you'll pat yourself on the back for being a truthful person about it. But I would say you've already sacrificed the right you have to be truthful about that. And I know I'm oversimplifying it, because the only way to not oversimplify such a thing is to use a real example and not a hypothetical example. But I think many times the moral thing to do is to take your guilty secrets to the grave. And maybe you can talk about them with a therapist, or you can talk about them with someone that you really trust who will maintain confidentiality. But you don't come clean about old lies. You're not coming clean about old lies, generally, if that will ruin lives. And I don't think you forgive yourself precisely and focus on living truthfully in the future. You focus on living truthfully in the future, and perhaps you don't forgive yourself exactly. That doesn't mean you pound yourself into the ground with guilt. But if you have done things in the past that were reprehensible and that would destroy lives if were brought to light, then you should, I think that generally speaking, you should do everything you can to limit the spread of damage as you attempt to move truthfully into the future. So